Welcome to the channel, bringing a real-world perspective to the real-world whiskey consumer.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Erin.
And we are back with another Topical Tuesday video where we like to start conversations with you guys or cover some type of topic that we feel is pretty important to the whiskey community as a whole. We do these Classics Revisited episodes periodically, and we're due for another one. Thought Wild Turkey 101 would be a very good choice to do because we haven't done it yet. It is a classic. Most of the time we go out and buy bottles specifically for this segment because we may not have visited them in a while. However, as you can tell,
we always have a Wild Turkey 101 on hand.
Not to give away the plot or give away the results here, if this is worth buying or not these days. But we do keep a bottle of this on hand, and there's a few specific reasons for that. So we're going to get into it. We're going to smell it and taste it, tell you what we think about it, specifically about its value, because we say we're a real-world channel for the real-world whiskey consumer. Most of our reviews are blind, so you get honest opinions, but we say that real-world stuff because we prize value very highly.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very heavily weighted in our books when it comes to
value
rating.
for the money.
Yeah, absolutely. So this stuff right here is about $25 for a 750 milliliter in our market.
Okay.
If you want to
get... Is that average across most markets?
Most, like $22 to $28.
Okay.
If you want to go up to get a 1.75 liter, a handle, you can get it for about $40. And I think cost per 750 milliliter then drops down to closer to the $20 mark. And this is a 6 to 8 year batched product. So pretty high value in that regard. 101 proof, but none of that matters if it doesn't taste good.
True.
Let's go ahead and get into the nose.
All right. Smells like whiskey.
Yeah, so it is very classic bourbon. It's everything you might want in a glass of bourbon. Caramel, vanilla, oak. Those are kind of our classic bourbon notes that we tend to get.
I got a tinge of stinky feet.
Hey,
but it also might be my slippers down there.
So it does have a little bit of what people call the turkey funk.
Oh, is that the thing?
Yeah, that's 100% a thing.
Oh, okay.
Some people are more sensitive to it than others. For some people, it's off-putting. For others, it's very endearing. But, you know, for some people that if it's off-putting, it kind of can come across like a little bit of like a musty oak. Whereas with other people, it just kind of comes across as this generally pleasant kind of funk.
Stinky feet.
Pleasant funk.
My stinky feet, not his stinky feet.
Yeah, so for me, and this is interesting because as I'm smelling it now, I know what I normally get, which is cherry pie. Oh,
really?
She's my cherry pie. Usually. I can count on this.
She's my cherry pie.
It's to the point now where I just say things that trigger her into song. But I typically get that, but I'm getting a little bit of florality on here today.
Interesting. That just goes to show you that your nose and palate, like the way things smell and taste, can vary a little bit from day to day.
100%. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this bottle, because I wanted to highlight how your palate can change day to day. As you drink through a bottle, the whiskey in the bottle can kind of change as it's exposed to air.
Yeah, it's true.
Nothing in life is ever constant. The only constant is change. Whiskey is no different. So when you're tasting something, if you don't like it on 1 or 2 days that you try it, give it another shot, because you might actually come around to liking it.
You might, or you might just not like it.
Or you might not, but you never want to let that first try of a bottle
I would say give
convince
something 2 chances before you call it a day.
Right. And you can pretty easily tell something's just way off and not good at all. But if it's like, this isn't really feeling right for me today, give it another shot, because you might actually enjoy it. Speaking of, let's go and get into the palate on this.
This tastes like fall today.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just dreaming of fall.
No, I think that's dead right, because it has a little bit of those kind of, people say baking spices. But it's like it's your spice rack. It's your cinnamon, your clove, your nutmeg.
But it's all that kind of mixed with a hayride. Like I'm getting some straw, like a light dusting of hayride.
Yeah. I can get all that in here.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of the cherry pie in there. Also wanted to highlight this bottle because now with this new label with the embossed turkey in the glass and the label down here, it looks different than the old label, which had a big old paper label with a turkey head printed on it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And one thing that we have found is the recipe hasn't changed. Wild Turkey's still making the same bourbon, putting it in the same barrels, not same barrels, always new charred oak barrels, but they're not doing anything different.
The process hasn't changed.
That's what I'm trying to say. But the whiskey still changes over time. The batches change, the wood that they use for the barrels changes. It can be younger or older.
That would happen no matter if they had changed the bottling at all. we could
Yeah, it
still
would-
be going through this whole like it
100%.
tastes different thing.
100%
Yeah.
it would change over time. So there's nothing that changed in the new label other than what's called batch drift or batch variance. So
They claim though.
what we've noticed is that with these products right here, the glass bottles, the way things have changed, the way that either the summers have been hotter or colder, the winters have been hotter or colder, everything changes.
Yeah.
And the way it's affected the recent batches of this stuff is it's coming out a little bit more with that hayride and that turkey funk, and a little bit less cinnamony like the batches were from a couple of years ago
I
that we
agree.
tried. I tend to like the heavier cinnamon notes.
I am getting cinnamon, but you know
Yeah.
how if you taste cinnamon on its own without sugar, it's pretty bitter.
Yeah.
I'm getting that side of cinnamon, like the cinnamon not with sugar. Because normally I feel like when most people eat cinnamon, it is with some sort of sweetener. But straight cinnamon by itself is kind of bitter.
Yeah. I would say with this on the palate, the predominant thing I'm getting is cinnamon, a little bit of cherry, and I'm getting some of those baking spices as well. And then I'm not getting the cinnamon as strong as I would have liked. Like
Gotcha.
the older turkey products had a little bit more candied cinnamon.
That-
This is a
yeah.
little bit more like the cinnamon
Like raw cinnamon,
spice.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's,
Like you take a cinnamon stick and you just grate it and put it in here.
yeah. You had said something about bitter. I think that's something to talk about.
A little bit.
Is this sweet or earthy or bitter?
I'm getting a little bit of earthiness
Yeah.
and a little bit of bitterness and some sweetness too, but mostly earthiness and a little bitterness.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, caramel, vanilla, oak is all there and all that stuff. But to me, what I get off of this is a little, not necessarily like bitter in a bad way, but like a little dark chocolatey type of bitter.
Yeah, like dark chocolate bitter.
Yeah.
So not off-putting if you like dark chocolate.
Right. So this stuff is high in value. You take a whiskey like Buffalo Trace or any of their products, they're very sweet. If you're looking at sweet to savory scale, they would be way on the sweet side.
Yep.
Whereas Wild Turkey is a little bit more in the middle. Like it has sweet elements to it, but
Yep.
it also has some earthy elements and some stuff like that going on in here to balance out the flavor profile a little bit, which
Yeah.
is what I like a lot about Wild Turkey products.
Me too.
So now the question is this worth buying in 2023? $25 for a bottle, or if you want to buy a liter and a half or 1.75 liter,
I would say
closer
so.
to $20.
I would say this would be kind of more, for me, it'd be more of an everyday sipper that I wouldn't feel bad drinking because of, I don't want to be drinking something super expensive all the time. But it's a good quality that I won't feel like I'm missing out by drinking something that's $25 whiskey.
Yeah. And I think the price is low enough that you can mix it into things without worrying too much about it. Honestly, this would probably be our go-to inexpensive bottle.
Yeah.
I know some people really like Evan Williams Bottled and Bond for a little bit less money.
Yeah.
Or Evan Williams 1783.
Is the Bottled and Bond the one with the white and green label? I like that one too, though. That's a
Or
good
some
one.
people really like Old Forester 100. If you like a really fruit-forward flavor profile, then Old Forester 100 would probably be your go-to cheap pour.
Okay.
If you want something a little bit more on the just all-sweet side. If you want something that is a little bit more savory, nutty, you like that type of profile, maybe lean towards the Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. But if you like something that has some of those caramel vanilla notes, has some of those cinnamon,
A
nutmeg,
little
clove spices.
dark chocolate bitterness, which I love.
Yeah. That's, again, I think the well-roundedness of turkey products is what
Yeah.
keeps bringing us back.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
if you try the 101 proof and it's a little too hot, don't be afraid to try it on ice or add a little bit of water to it to tame it down.
Yep.
I thought about, before we did this video, maybe recommending the 81 proof Wild Turkey if people thought the 101 proof was a little too hot and spicy.
Interesting.
But honestly, I probably would just buy this
And put some ice in
and
it
put some
or
water
water.
in it or
Yeah.
some ice in it. And that way you can stretch the bottle out and try it neat a few times at full 101 proof and get yourself acclimated to a little bit more flavor at the expense of a little bit more proof heat as well. But just like spicy food or hot water in the shower, it's only hot at first, and then as you acclimate to it a
That's
little
true.
bit, it kind of tames down and you can get more flavor out of the 101 proof point.
Fair.
So yeah, great product. Like I said, we keep a bottle around, and honestly, we usually try this before we ever film any videos for our channel,
It's
because
our
we know
control
what it
pour, yeah.
Yeah, we know what it tastes like. So as long as it tastes like it's supposed to taste, we know we can then go into the next video.
And by we know what it's supposed to taste like, he knows what it's supposed to taste like.
Yeah, but we go in.
Drink.
We go in with that assurance, knowing that our palates don't taste off. Like
Right.
if you taste this and you're like, oh, what's wrong with this?
Yeah.
Or if it's the best thing in the world to you, which sometimes it can come across pretty nice in blinds. But if we know, we know what we're drinking, we know how it's supposed to taste. That lets us put a baseline for our palate for blind tasting. So anyways, super fun video. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, like it. And if you like this style of content, be sure to subscribe to the channel.
Absolutely. And if you have any comments about what you think about Wild Turkey 101, is it something that you would consider like a staple in your pantry? Let us know in the comments below.
I think for most people it is. I'm more interested for the people that don't like it. If you
Okay.
don't think this is worth keeping around, let us know.
Yeah.
Maybe
explain why, because
Yeah.
I'd love to know I love to know the reason why people do things.
Yeah, maybe you prefer more proof or less proof. Maybe you prefer less spice. Maybe you just don't like the flavor profile. Those are all fine, but you can let us know down in the comments below. It's always helpful for people who are cruising the comments to see what other people think as well.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
That's it for this one.
That's it for today. Be good to each other. And until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.